I'm sure that a lot of you have already seen several theory videos about how Kalos could be the second region in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So I'm not going to go and reiterate every single potential piece of evidence that could suggest that Kalos is in this game. I will go ahead and say that yes, the maps for both Kalos and Galar do seem to line up. In terms of lore and history, there does seem to be some connections between Galar, which is inspired off Great Britain, and Kalos, which is inspired by France. Both of these areas are in the real world right next to each other. There are trains that connect them, so all of those things make sense. But I noticed something else, or rather a couple little different things that could hint at Kalos actually being a thing on top of everything else you guys have also probably heard already. Some of you may not have heard of any of this, so, you know, I'm kind of summarizing everything right here, but there are some things I've noticed that are really interesting, and I'm not entirely sure what they mean, but they could mean that there is another region in the game, and it might actually be Kalos. At first, when I saw this map, and I saw the beginning area, and I saw this little railroad going to the mountain, I assumed that the railroad was going through all of these mountains over here, and going through the big railroad all the way on the left that's right next to the lakes, crossing all the way to this industrial looking city. That's what I thought it was. But I had a low-res version of the map at the time. Now looking more closely, it almost seems more likely to think that this beginning town area has this railroad and it actually leads to this red house over here, which does seem to have its own little railroad right next to it, which would then mean that maybe we could actually go out and explore this giant lake area in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Maybe Pokemon Sword and Shield is more open than we think. That's a very cool prospect to me, but I'm going to save that topic for another video. What I'm getting at here is that there doesn't seem to be any sort of place for this bridge, and I know a lot of other people have already talked about that. That's not what I'm getting at, but I just want to say that it is possible that this railway could lead to out of the region, because assuming that it's not the one that connects to the beginning town right here, we have no idea where it goes. So then, what else can we see in the beginning town? Well, there's something we don't see in the beginning town, or any of the beginning area, and that's gyms. I don't see anything that could be a gym. Maybe one of the purple houses, but it doesn't seem likely in my opinion. So when we go ahead and we take a look at the rest of the region, we can pretty much find almost all of the gyms. And this first big industrial looking town, if you look carefully right before the big tower, there seems to be a dome looking area. I'm pretty sure that's where one of the gyms is. And actually, if you look more carefully, there's a bridge right here and a circular looking gear protrusion thing. If you look at the Pokemon Direct footage, there's actually a scene they show where you can see this in 3D, and we can even see a blue and red symbol in the background. That blue and red circular symbol we've seen associated with the Pokemon League and the gyms several times, including when they go into the grass gym, so I would say this is also probably a gym. And then of course the grass gym is over here, right next to this big mountain with this giant and the yellow fields, and then if you go all the way to the other side of the map, there's the water gym on the port, and then if you go all the way up to the snow area, there's a gym over there. Then this Dragon City is probably a Dragon City with a Dragon Gym, most likely. Then of course by the Diglett area, there's another area that's probably the Ground Gym. Then when you go up a little bit, you have this mushroom looking area, which is probably the Fairy Gym. So that's 7 gyms. You have the Fairy Gym, the Ground Gym, Dragon Gym, Ice Gym, Water Gym, Grass Gym, and Industrial Gym. Let's just assume Fire or Steel, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say, but it's definitely a gym. And that puts us at 7 gyms. So then, where's the 8th gym? Well, there's 2 options. One, it could be in the beginning, hidden, and we just don't know about it. That is possible. The other possibility is that it's actually at the very top, where I initially assumed would be where the Elite Four would be, except here's the thing. One, there is this place right here that could very well be a gym. When I first saw it, I thought it could be maybe more of like a Pokemon Contest kind of place, but it does have the red and blue circular kind of symbol, which we've already seen is associated with the Pokemon League and the gyms, so it's probably not too much of a stretch to say that this place is also probably a gym. It might not be, it could just be like a Pokemon League registration place for the Elite Four, maybe, but I'm going to go ahead and say this is also probably a gym. Maybe I'm 50-50 on it, but I think it's fairly likely that this is a gym. And if it is a gym, then why would the Elite Four also be in the same place? Not to mention the Elite Four has never been in a city that you can explore. It's usually its own separate thing. So if that's the case and this giant tower area is not the Elite Four, then where's the Elite Four? Well, that brings me to the point I'm getting at. The Elite Four might not even be in the region. When was the only other time that we got to explore 2 different regions? Pokemon Silver and Gold, right? In Pokemon Silver and Gold, the Elite Four is not actually in Johto, it's technically in Kanto, just along the border. So, going back to this train station, or this giant railroad I mean, that leads down to we're not entirely sure, based off the way it looks like the Kalos and Galar maps are going to connect, we may end up taking the railroad all the way down to that mysterious train station from X and Y, Koryue Station, that seemed to have no real reason to be there. We may end up going all the way down there once we get all 8 badges, and guess what? Koryue Station is not too far away from the actual Pokemon League in Kalos. So just like in Generation 2 where you had to venture to another region to go to the Elite Four, it may be the case again that if we are visiting a second region this time around, that the actual Pokemon League could be in Kalos. One more thing I want to point out, in the beginning for Generation 2 Silver and Gold New Bark Town, you were next to a lake. You couldn't do anything there until you would come back towards the end of the game, and when you did, you would traverse the lake, go to Tojo Falls, and actually get into Kanto, and eventually go to the Elite Four, and then eventually explore the entire region. So what if there's a similar situation here with Galar? The beginning area is right at the border of the map, there's this mysterious looking woods. What if the woods is the equivalent to Tojo Falls? Just an idea, could be something, might not be anything at all, but I do think there's an interesting connection here, and I'm not entirely sure where the Elite Four is. It could be at the very top, maybe that place is not a gym, maybe it is a gym and there's just going to be a gym and the Elite Four in one giant big city at the end of the game at the top of the map. But based off previous Pokemon games, I feel like my explanation makes a bit more sense, but we do know Game Freak is trying out new things this time around, so they may be a bit more unpredictable. We don't really know. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that I'm right and that Kalos is where the actual Pokemon League will be, where we will fight the Elite Four? Or maybe I'm wrong and the 8th gym is just somewhere else in the map and we haven't found it yet, and the very top of the Galar map is where the Elite Four actually is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm really curious what you guys have to say. If you're new here and you love Nintendo content, make sure to subscribe. Leaving a like would also be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you all really soon. Bye.